Fantasy football junkies. You are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out!
Thank you. Come one, come all to an elated edition of Testosterone Fantasy Sports. Jeff and Jesse in the house and happy as pigs in slop to be here, Jeff.
Heck yeah, man.
We dominated the Packers last week. We got a narrow victory, but we're taking it.
Yeah, I've been rooting around in my purple passion all this week, talking to all the Packer fans.
Yes.
It's been fantastic. They gave it to us a little bit. They had the lead there almost at the end. We almost, stole defeat from the jaws of victory, as it were, for Viking fans a lot. But we came through at the end, and it was fantastic. So, when a Packer offense can't muster much of anything and Aaron Rodgers is on his back the entire game, it's difficult to do much and win a game that way.
Yeah, exactly. So we're starting the show off
Awesome.
at the top, as we always do, talking about our favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. If you're new to this show or this is the first time you've stumbled across us, we welcome you. We want you to stay tuned for the next hour. We've got a fantastic show planned for you. We start the show off typically, Jeff, talking about our favorite team, the Purple, and we will be delving in to their must-win game this week at Tampa Bay, as well as kind of encapsulating the week that was a fantastic victory over the Packers. But we also want you to hang around as the show progresses, because we will shift focus and move into breaking down all of the NFL matchups, because, Jeff, Testosterone Fantasy Sports is exactly that. It's a fantasy football show too, and fantasy season is really heating up down the stretch.
Yeah, that's right. There's only 3 weeks left to go in the fantasy regular season, so playoffs are right around the corner. You're running out of time to make the final trades to get your team ready for playoff action, so you're going to want to make sure and take a look over the next couple weeks. Highly important. I know, Jesse, in a couple leagues that we're in, we have double headers that's starting up, and that's an exciting time. So there's all kinds of different fantasy leagues out there, but in every league, you want to take the regular season to get your team ready for the playoffs and go forward in the playoffs. So 3 more weeks to go. And trading deadline usually Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. And the bye weeks are now over for the last 7 weeks of NFL action. It's been a truncated schedule with some of the teams sitting out. This week, all 32 teams are playing beginning with a Thursday nighter. We won't cover that matchup here on the show, but we have an action-packed show. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're in the house for an hour tonight. But Jeff, we would be remiss if we did not discuss in detail, at great length. We've waited.
Yes.
Brad Childress
yes.
lost his first 5 games in his first 5 attempts, beating our arch rival, the Packers. What did he do right? What did he do differently in Game 6 to help deliver a win, a must-needed win? 1-6 now he's against.
I mean, honestly, it was a lot of luck and good play by Adrian Peterson, especially at the end. I mean, when your guy rushes for 192 yards, you tend to win games that way.
Right.
So, and also we got a great a great pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and the defensive scheme that Les Frazier had designed was something that I don't think they were ready for at all. And I think that those two things combined pretty much gave us the edge. We were able to take a couple shots on the chin, the interception return for the touchdown, as well as the punt return. It's tough to come back from miscues of that nature, but at the same time, when you dominate on the other sides of the ball, the way we dominated the Green Bay Packers on Sunday, and when you see Aaron Rodgers in the turf as many times as that young man was in the turf, he was blowing snot bubbles at his nose, man. It was a thing of beauty.
That's right. We had him on his back more regularly than Jeff had his girlfriends in high school on their backs. I mean, he was down all game, definitely put on his back. I mean, we're starting now to see what a pass rush does for this defense. I mean, they were unable to move the ball. We talked at length before the game about their fantastic young wide receiver, Greg Jennings, really a non-factor. Donald Driver, really a non-factor, and that was because Aaron Rodgers was uncomfortable. The New York Giants used this type of a pass rush off of the edges last year to beat the unbeatable Patriots, and now we're looking down the gun barrel. We've got some must-win games coming up, but a pass rush like this, Jeff, can really wreak havoc.
Yeah, and it was fantastic, too. I was very impressed to see the way that Jared Allen was able to work against Chad Clifton. Clifton pretty much has had Allen's number since his days in Kansas City.
Right.
So, and I was pretty impressed with, who knows for sure, but, Coach speak is something that is a part of the NFL, and coaches will say, my player is injured and not going to play in this game, and to kind of dupe his opponent.
Sure.
And this was our biggest rival game, and it was a must-win. We talked about that last week, and it was a little bit of cat and mouse, Jesse. And so I thought that was a fantastic way for us to prepare. And then the pass rush scheme was fantastic. We had some good delayed blitzes. I love seeing Lieber just unload. It was great to see him lead with his shoulder first. A totally clean hit, and one that that Aaron Rodgers still feels today.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Awesome,
and of course, as Jeff mentioned at the top, Adrian Peterson, the guy was phenomenal. I'm wearing the jersey here. If you've been with us for any length of time, we are huge Adrian Peterson fans. You want to jump onto our website at testosteronesports.com and pick up a Feed the Beast t-shirt, Jeff, because down the stretch, the plan was simple. We got the ball back trailing late in that game. We needed a touchdown to win it, and I just thought it was amazing. I mean, Troy Aikman, who I consider a great analyst and a fantastic football mind, was saying they can't just keep running the ball like this. They can't just keep handing it off. They've got to go down the field. They gave Adrian the ball 8 out of their final 9 plays, and I was totally taken back that Aikman didn't see it as clearly as I did. You just knew Adrian was going to dominate. You knew he was going to take it over, and you could feel that big run coming.
And he'd had several big runs, runs of over 25 yards throughout the course of the game where he would pick his way to one side and then pop for the big burst.
Right.
And he did simply that on the touchdown run. It was a great 29-yarder. But up to that point, it seemed to me like his motivation factor went up a little bit when they gave him the football on 4th and 1 and he fumbled the ball. He came back to the sidelines, kind of checked himself a little bit, and then they gave him the rock. And that shows great confidence in the young man and confidence in himself, and he knows that he's got the ability to do it, and that when the defense is tired, your weapon, you got to give the ball to your best player, and that's just what we did. And also, Bernard Berrien was completely absent.
Yeah, so, no catches.
And the Packers are awesome at stopping the pass, not that great at stopping the run. So we beat them just like you would draw it up on paper, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, and Bernard Berrien, we could kind of see that this might be a potential spot for him. I mean, they've got some very hands-on cornerbacks in Woodson and Al Harris who like to get handsy at the line. Berrien is a guy who likes that free release so he can use his wheels and speed. It's going to be interesting looking forward now to this week to see what Berrien is able to do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because let's not forget the Vikes travel to Tampa, which is traditionally a place where we've struggled. Let's not forget, Jeff, back in the magical season of 1999 when this team went 15-1, our one loss was at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. So this is a tough game here.
Oh, yeah, definitely it is. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are for sure adverse at beating playoff contending teams. So they're not going to be scared of us, especially in their own house. We went from playing the number 3 pass defense in the league in Green Bay. Now we're facing the number 5 pass defense, and we're on the road. So it's going to be much tougher for us to get things going through the air. Although I would like to see Rondé Barber matched up on Bernard Berrien, because Rondé's lost a few steps and Bernard could blow right past him. So that Monty Kiffin, their defensive coordinator, an excellent mind, he's going to have their defense ready to go. And Gus, the over-under on INTs this week has got to be 4.
Yeah, I mean, Gus Frerotte needs to play some mistake-free ball here.
If possible.
I think you can beat a Tampa Bay team with 21 to 24 points. Jeff Garcia is a wily veteran. He's going to move around in the pocket. We're not going to be able to get that sustained pressure that we saw last week against Aaron Rodgers as easily against Jeff Garcia, because they design rollouts for him and move him around. To me, it is very important for our offense to move the ball, move the chains, hold on to the ball, and of course it's going to start and finish with Adrian Peterson. I look at our squad, Jeff, and looking down the stretch of the season, I think we do have a team that could win this division and potentially make a playoff run, but it really starts with number 28. He has to play at an MVP caliber level for us to run the table here.
And don't forget, too, that if we're going to win and go to the playoffs, we have to win on the road, and it starts right now. So we got things going, good positivity and momentum coming off of the Green Bay game. Now we're tied for first place. So a win at Tampa Bay against a playoff contending team would be a real feather in the cap of our team right now. And you do it against this team by running right at the heart of their defense.
Yeah,
we match up great with them because we play great ball control. style, and I just think that that's going to work real well, although it's going to be a tough one, man. It's going to be tough. Low scoring.
People can't overlook Tampa Bay on offense. I mean, they don't have these marquee names or extremely big play guys, but Antonio Bryant, as you've mentioned here on the show, is prone to having these enormous games, breakout games. This is a really a must-win game for the Bucks too. And I'm wondering if you think Antonio Bryant is playable on a fantasy tip against our defense here. Do you think they'll be able to move the ball with him? He's a big play guy. If we match Winfield up, I mean, there is a pretty significant height advantage. You know, and typically, you know, this guy is Bryant is one of these players who's a boomer bust player. You know, we got to contain him, can we?
Well, I do think that we can, as long as our defensive pass rush gets pressure on Garcia. So they are going to try to move him outside of the pocket, and that's smart. Brad Childress should kind of take note about what John Gruden can do here, because it is a West Coast offense,
right? And
we typically like to move our quarterback out of the pocket. You know, especially when we're talking about having a young runner type quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can do. If we can collapse that pocket and keep Garcia contained, then yeah, I think that Bryant will be contained too. But to me, they're like tethered together.
Right.
Where one does well, the other does well.
Right. Another interesting development here for fantasy owners is that it sounds like Carnell Cadillac Williams could get some carries in this game, which it does not make him fantasy relevant as far as on a starting level. But this guy had a devastating tear to his patella tendon last year, Jeff. People were saying he might be out forever, may not return. I think it says a lot about the young man and his perseverance and his desire to get back. He's worked very hard, and he's back on the active roster. Now they've dropped Michael Bennett. So
yeah, well, and that'll be interesting to see what he does. He's their first-round pick from a couple years back, like number 5 overall, I want to say.
Something like
that. So
that's
a high stock to put in a young running back. A little bit undersized, and he was a committee back at Auburn. So you know, we'll see what he can do. I don't necessarily think he's going to be worthwhile this year. We'll keep tabs on him for the beginning of next season, but he's got Ernest Graham there, so to me it smells like committee.
Yeah, I think his presence does more than anything. It devalues Ernest Graham's value and kind of brings that team down to a committee approach. They're going to have a hell of a hard time running against our boys up front. Yeah. We got Big Pat and Big Kevin playing both at an outstanding level, and keep the fingers crossed. No news is good news so far on any suspension stuff. We haven't heard about that in the national media in a couple weeks now.
Yeah, it's a league-wide story, so it's not just our boys, and so that's why I think the league is making sure to take the right approach here. Suspensions could happen. They could want to maybe do it during the preseason of next year for the entire group of players. So I don't know if they'll handle it individually.
And several different players now that this is happening are now taking lawsuits against the drug manufacturer of this company, saying, you know, you didn't label the drugs in the right way. There was something in the pill they took that caused them to fail the drug test. So I don't think it's as open and shut as maybe we were told initially from the reports that came out from Jay Glazer of Fox. I mean, it sounded like it was going to be swift, 4 games, it's happening. But now here a couple of games have passed, and really the longer we keep those guys on the field, the more pressing it is going to be for us to keep them on the field for the duration, because we need the wall.
I mean, that's like having a bulldozer down there to run over. You know, I mean, it's just like, come on, we got to have those guys. So I'll tell you what, if Travis Henry can beat a rap, our boys should be able to beat a rap too. You know, we've been good since 05. We've been good.
That's right.
So let our boys play. We need them.
Right. Exactly. Well, we thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. Grab your favorite drink or grab
what about
some
the
snacks.
horn, man? We haven't lost since the horn.
We got to grab the horn. Last week I blew the horn, and we definitely took it to the Packers. We're going to blow the horn here, and we'll be back right after this.
Skol Vikings!
Yes! Want to win,
you must tune in
to Testosterone Fantasy Sports.